Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. I'm having a good break. Apologies, this is a day late. I'm gonna get on the new SBR stage very soon after this video as well. Got some stuff to catch up on. It's just been really busy, and I finally have some time to actually do this video, which is the 200% lead showcase on the newly EZA'd Angel Golden Frieza. Now, I know a lot of people when EZA'd on JP were like, he's not that great. As I always say, if you're expecting all the new EZAs to be world beaters, absolutely demolish, you know, every single red zone stage and be gods in the hardest content in the game, unfortunately you're going to be sadly disappointed, because that is not the goal Dokkan is going for. This EZA is still very good. However, if you were looking for, as I said, an absolute god in all the hardest content, that's not what this is going to be. That's not what any EZA is really going to be. There's only a few anomalies, you know, Cooler being one of the most recent ones, that are up there and can, you know, really compete in the hardest content. But don't call an EZA mid or bad just because it can't, you know, absolutely run through Broly or Cooler Core or something like that, or absolutely decimate like Cell Max. I said, otherwise you're going to be sadly disappointed. So we do have him on rotation, and we do actually have him kind of ideally set up. That's actually one of the major benefits if you are going to be taking him into any form of harder content, is you can link him, of course, with one of the better extreme units, especially when it comes to Wicked Bloodline, is with the AGL Golden Frieza. And then also eventually the LR Golden Frieza, whenever they decide to drop him, that's probably going to be potentially like January time, or maybe soon, but probably like January time, they may move him. He can link to both the EZA Golden Friezas and the LR eventually when they drop. So at least if you were going to take him into some harder content, you can actually have a viable rotation setup where you have a slot 1 unit, and a very good one at that, and then also an even better one when the LR drops, and then have him in slot 2, which is ideal considering he does greatly raise his defense by 50% for 1 turn. So this is probably the best rotation you're going to get. We do have Prodigy's active, Universe's most malevolent, Revival even, Strongest Clan in Space, and Fierce Battle. Of course, we are missing Tournament of Power. It doesn't really provide much, but of course we're not on a Reps team or a Universe Survival Saga team, so we won't be getting that active. What we sitting on turn 1, we are facing a superclass enemy, so he does get an extra additional attack and defense plus 100%. So I will hop into like one of the older red zone stages and see what he has without the 100%. Against superclass enemy, he does have a 576k attack stat at the start of turn and 233k defense. Again, that is with the additional attack and defense plus 100% when facing a superclass enemy. So any extreme super battle road stages you do where you're primarily running an extreme class team, where this guy can fit on and you're facing primarily superclass enemies, this Golden Frieza is going to thrive, especially once he super attacks. You know, you're looking at probably like over 500k defense, which for ESBR is very good. Excuse me. And, you know, I reckon he could still probably be okay in maybe like a Mega Shenron's red zone stage. Obviously not Broly's or Coolers. And then eventually, if Dokkan ever decide to drop, you know, harder content in the game that's basically like the super version of Red Zone, this guy will actually thrive. This guy will actually do very well there with that additional attack and defense plus 100%. So of course, as I already said, he does greatly raise defense by 50% on super, causes immense damage to an enemy and greatly lowers defense. He starts with attack plus 250 at the start of turn and defense plus 150%. Was he putting out on super? 6 mil. This is at Rainbow, 200% lead, 6 mil. That's decent. That's decent. That's not even bad. That's not even mid either. That's actually pretty decent. That's with no support, and he's also missing the Link Brutal Beatdown, which he will have active once this guy is on rotation, along with the support as well, which, as I said with other units, when we're doing, you know, any unit that belongs on Wicked Bloodline or the LR Final Form Cooler's 200% lead, typically in harder content, you don't transform the strength EZA Final Form Cooler. I mean, you can, but a lot of the time you don't, just so he continues stacking defense. He still puts out good damage even prior to transforming. And then, of course, the important part, you have the support. But 6 mil with no support and doesn't even have Brutal Beatdown active, that's still pretty good. Now again, bearing in mind that is with the additional attack and defense plus 100% when facing a superclass enemy, which once we do take him into an event which we're facing an extreme class enemy, that will come down a bit, which is a little bit unfortunate, but still pretty good. It's still pretty good. We do have Tournament of Power active now, which because of this Frieza here. In fact, let me actually transform him, just because why not? And again, I'm pretty sure Tournament of Power doesn't really give us anything too special. Yeah, key +3 in attack and defense plus 1.4%. So we're not really getting too much right now from Tournament of Power. But we are on a 581k attack stat pre-super again, and 236k defense, of course. So in terms of how this Golden Frieza's sitting defensively after supering, his defense is in a solid spot. Is it red zone level? Obviously not, because when you're facing Broly, Cooler Core, even a Mega Shenron, to an extent, you know, you're gonna need a lot of defense. You're talking like almost a milli defense, you know, if you don't have like guard and, you know, having built-in additionals and additionals in general. We're up to 6.1 with Tournament of Power active, to be fair. You know, you need a lot of defense if you don't have guard and, you know, damage reduction, those type of things, which of course this Frieza doesn't have. But do you know what? Having over 500k defense is still pretty decent. As I said, if you're expecting all EZAs that drop to be able to literally be absolute world beaters and demolish red zone stages like it's nothing and be the new best EZA in the game and, you know, one of the best units in the game every time a new EZA drops, you're going to be highly disappointed. But that doesn't mean that every EZA that drops that isn't cooler or just isn't like one of the best EZAs in the game, that doesn't mean they're mid. That doesn't mean they're bad. I do think a lot of Dokkan players probably need to bring their expectations down just a little bit when it comes to EZAs. Would it be nice if some of these guys were up there? Yeah, sure, 100%. But that's not the route Dokkan is taking when it comes to EZAs. But in terms of the rest of his kit, all enemies get attack minus 15%, which it's not going to impact too much, but I guess it's nice to have it. He also gets an additional attack minus 7% for superclass enemies. So if you're ever going to take him on a Reps team or a Universe Survival Saga team, again, while 7% isn't really going to impact a lot of the superclass units on Reps or Universe Survival Saga, it does mean they won't be putting out the pinnacle of their offensive numbers. But as I said, it doesn't really make too much of an impact, especially the type of numbers units putting out nowadays. And then, of course, he already gets the additional attack and defense plus 100% when facing a superclass enemy, which I've already gone through. Attack effective against all types when there's another Reps Universe 7 category allow attacking in the same turn, which of course we did have with the transforming Golden Frieza. Unfortunately for him, he's aged a bit. He's not bad in content nowadays. He's not too bad in some content, not red zone worthy. But, you know, if you are going to be running him, of course, on the 200% lead, you're typically not going to be taking this guy. So in terms of having your attacks effective against all types, when there is another Reps Universe 7 category allow attacking in the same turn, you're not really going to be getting that active too often, if I'm being realistic, or actually just in general, you're actually not really just going to get that often. Like, you're not going to get that active too often. If you're going to be running a 200% Wicked Bloodline team, because of course, this EZA Golden Frieza can't go on the LR Final Form Cooler's 200% lead, because he doesn't go on movie bosses, and also, of course, doesn't go on Terrifying Conquerors either. You're not going to be able to have that, which is a shame, but again, I don't think it's going to impact him too much, but it would be nice, I guess. But now we have all the important links active. We have Brutal Beatdown active, which is what, an extra attack plus 15%, I'm pretty sure? No, 11%. I think it gets to 15% once you get to level 10. We also have the support coming in from Cooler as well, that attack and defense plus 50%. So we're on a 689k attack stat pre-super. We're up to 266k defense. I mean, start of turn numbers, they're actually pretty good. They're actually pretty good. So we've seen so far, what, just over 6 mil. Then when we had Tournament of Power Link active, which is only 1.4% attack and defense, we're up to 6.1. So I mean, with the support from Cooler and Brutal Beatdown active, you're probably looking at around about 7 mil. First, of course, we're going to get super attack. That's fine. You attacked. Oh, I keep pulling out the dodges. Okay, pulling out the dodges. Yeah, 7.28. Just shy of 7.3 mil. That's pretty good. And that is support you can actually realistically take into harder content in the game because of how good, of course, the transforming EZA Cooler actually is. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, and his defense probably would have been between 600 and 700k, which is actually pretty nice. Again, is it red zone level? definitely not. Definitely not. When it comes to Broly, when it comes to Cooler Core, definitely not. He would not be able to handle himself. Maybe a Mega Shenron. You know, a Mega Shenron to me is probably the easiest, hardest kind of like red zone stage we currently have in Dokkan right now. If I had to rank all three of them, I think Cell Max, yeah, probably not either. You know, an additional with this guy would be great, especially if he can greatly raise his defense twice, which I mean, I do have him rainbowed, but I've only got 9 additionals, so any skill equips will be useful here. But, you know, any additionals this guy does, he can greatly raise his defense twice, which means when you're facing superclass enemies, his defense is actually going to be in a really, really good spot. So when it comes to ESBR, this guy's going to thrive. This guy's going to thrive, especially with all enemies minus attack plus, you know, 15% and stuff like that. This guy will be great for ESBR. But that's against a superclass enemy. Now is to see how he does against an extreme class enemy where we lose that attack and defense plus 100%. Alright, so we're back. We don't have the AGL Golden Frieza lined up with him, which means we are missing Prodigies, which I'm pretty sure is attack plus 10%. 11.5% because we have at level 4. So we do need to get him on rotation. It's been a while since I've been into any red zone stage that isn't a Mega Shenron, Broly, or Meta Cooler Core. This feels so weird. We're in the General Rodo stage, of course. I mean, immediately you can see the difference. Even though we don't have Prodigies active, you can see the difference so easily. Missing that attack and defense plus 100% because we're not facing a superclass enemy. We're down to a 411k attack stat, literally just shy of 412. And the defense is incredibly noticeable. We were on like over 220, 230k when facing a superclass enemy. Now we're down to 166k. Which, yeah, not as good, of course, considering all the harder content in the game is literally surrounded or literally themed and based upon facing extreme class enemies. Even though his EZA in general isn't, I would say, ideal for red zone, he could still potentially compete if he had that extra attack and defense plus 100%. Would he be ideal for it? No. But as I said, he could compete, especially against a Mega. That would be his best chance. But without the extra 100% attack and defense, because you're facing extreme class enemies, yeah, no, he's not good here. 4.3.5 mil. Yeah, that's a little disappointing. Losing that 100% attack and defense is so noticeable. Like, as I said, this is what makes him not red zone worthy in the slightest. Like, you could get away with this in ESBR, especially with the fact he greatly raises his defense one turn, especially when you consider the allies or the units that are going to be surrounding him, you know, on the 200% lead of Wicked Bloodline that he goes on. You're looking at, of course, the LR, you know, the LR Meta Cooler who heals. You have this guy. You have LR Final Form Cooler, who's still one of the best units in the game. You have him. You have the EZA Tech Golden Frieza. Yeah, it's definitely noticeable. It's incredibly noticeable, and it really does hurt him when it comes to harder content in the game when you're not facing superclass enemies. But I said, I mean, in the future, if Dokkan ever drops an event that, you know, is on red zone level, or, you know, probably by that point harder than red zone, but essentially the harder content in the game that is themed around superclass enemies, this guy may be able to thrive a little. Again, would he be ideal for it? Probably not, but he would still be able to pop off here and there and actually do somewhat decent damage. You know, you're looking at 6 and 7 mil, depending on if you have some support there, which, of course, with the EZA Cooler is possible. You know, he has a good slot 1 partner in the AGL Golden Frieza, even the Tech one, but the AGL one does share Prodigies and, of course, has more damage reduction. The LR eventually will drop. You know, in the future on Global, he's one of the best yellow/gold coin LRs in the game. And again, when you think about the units that surround him on the Wicked Bloodline 200% lead, you have Meta Cooler, LR Final Form Cooler, and the units that I've already listed prior to this, including, again, LR Golden Frieza when it eventually does drop on the Global side. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, maybe in the future, but right now, yeah, no, losing that 100% is incredibly noticeable, and it hurts him a lot when you're facing extreme class enemies, because you don't even, I was going to say you don't even get the, you know, attack minus 15%, which doesn't impact too much, but you actually do, because it's on all enemies, but obviously that's just not going to help. I mean, the 3 million crit's quite nice there, but yeah, doing 4.3 mil on a super and having like not even 200k defense, because after 3 supers, I mean, you're looking at like just over 300k, maybe 400k defense, which in red zone just obviously isn't enough. If you had guard with it, 100% that's enough. If you had damage reduction, would somewhat be enough depending on who you're facing. But yeah, no, just like 300 to 400k defense in red zone, obviously not enough, nowhere near enough. And it's quite unfortunate because if you are facing superclass enemies, his EZA is actually pretty good. Decent defense, especially once he supers. If you get an additional, even better, his defense in a very, very good spot. Without the 100% when you're facing extreme class enemies, you kind of really want that additional to happen, just so his defense is like somewhat, you know, kind of up to par when it comes to the harder content in the game. Puts out decent numbers offensively, especially if you have a reps category ally next to him, because then his attacks are effective against all types. He's quite an old unit at this point, so a lot of you probably have dupes where he can crit. He can actually do some good damage, especially with the, you know, some support, which realistically in harder content you'll have on the Wicked Bloodline 200% lead team because of the transforming EZA cooler. But then of course you won't have a reps of Universe 7 category ally because obviously you're not going to be taking this guy when it comes to running, you know, running harder content stages like red zone. But yeah, I mean, as I said, if you are facing a superclass enemy, he's actually pretty good. He's actually really good. If you're not, yeah, it's noticeable, man. It's noticeable and it hurts him a lot. Even with prodigies, he's only on a 448k attack stat pre-super. So I mean, this prodigies link, it's not going to be doing too much. It's probably going to take him to like what, 4.5, 4.6 mil, 4.8 a push. But yeah, I mean, he can be very good. If you're not facing a superclass enemy, yeah, he's not it. It's not the one. It's not the one. Yeah, 4.7 mil. 4.7 mil with that Prodigies link active with the EZA, AGL, Golden Frieza. I mean, it's kind of disappointing. As I said, he can be very good, but against extreme class enemies, yeah, no, he's not it. He's not the one. He is not the one. And unfortunately for him as well, while Wicked Bloodline, the Wicked Bloodline 200% lead is a very good team, don't get me wrong. Just in case, I don't want to die, let me actually pop a wheeze, because I literally have one more rotation and then we're done. You know, Wicked Bloodline compared to LR Final Form Cooler's 200% lead team, it's still a good 200% lead Wicked Bloodline, but there are not as many supports, there are a few good defensive units, like very good defensive units, but there's not as many. But unfortunately, of course, as I said, he doesn't go on LR Final Form Cooler's 200% lead. He doesn't even go on LR Final Form Cooler's 170 lead. Because he's not a Terrifying Conqueror anymore. He's somewhat of a anti-hero, I guess. I mean, technically now he's still a villain, but still, you know what I mean? During this point when this unit dropped, he was somewhat of an anti-hero. He was there for selfish reasons. So yeah, I mean, you don't have like Tech Janemba with the support, the damage reduction guard floating around, LR Fizz Janemba. You don't have the likes of Jason Berta to utilize their support and dodge in some events. You don't have, am I missing someone? I don't think I am. I mean, I may be, but I don't think I am. But you know, there's a bit more that could help him out. Would it do too much? Probably not, but yeah, it's not great. When you're facing an extreme class enemy, it's not great. But with the support, I mean, it looks a lot better. And as I said, in harder content, this is realistic to see. Because a lot of the time, you don't transform him until like the very end when you're going for that kill shot. So we're on a 551k attack stat at the start of turn now and 200k defense. Now that, of course, looks a lot better. And we also have Brutal Beatdown active as well. So that's where all that extra attack is coming from. So without the additional attack and defense plus 100%, because we're facing an extreme class enemy, but with Brutal Beatdown active and the support, we're up to 5.8. That's better. It's okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. And now his defense would be on like just over 400k again. If he got an additional off, defense would be in a much better spot. But the only time this guy is going to thrive when you're facing extreme class enemies is if Cooler's always next to him. And realistically and ideally, you would want one of the Golden Friezas because they are great slot 1 units, especially the AGL one. So for him to really pop off, it's very specific conditions. But as an ESBR unit, you know, when you take extreme-based category teams, you're always going to pretty much be facing superclass enemies. So he'll really thrive in those ESBR stages. However, outside of that, Yeah, probably not, but I'll give him a go in some red zone stages to see how he does. I do think only a mega he's going to do somewhat well in, or be okay with. But even then, that may be a stretch. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. And peace!